Hello everyone, this is Prashant, and in this video, we're going to talk about what are the best psychology textbooks that you can use to study the subject yourself. So, let's begin. So, why you should pick up good textbooks? Well, because your inputs determine your outputs. Similarly, when you choose a good book, it helps you gain a better understanding of the subject. So, means it will be easier for you to understand the subject. You will have a better understanding and it will lead to easier mastery in comparison to other things. So, let's start. So, what are the essential study skills you require before you can read books? Well, number one is reading, and number two is note taking. Without these, you won't be able to derive much value from the books I mentioned ahead of now. So let's begin. So where can you learn those study skills? Well, I have made videos on them. One on reading and the second one on note taking. So you have to watch these two videos before you can actually read the books or utilize them properly. So let's start. So where can you find the books? You can find them on Library Genesis. You can search for them. You can request them on their forum. Internet Archive, where you can make a disabled person account and access most of the books and download them. It is a good website for scanned books. Z Library, it is also a good website. Sci-Hub, Anna's Archive, Script, Telegram. You can borrow it from your friend. Library, you can buy it from a shop. You can scan it yourself. Amazon Kindle. So, what should be the criteria of a good textbook? Number one, clarity, studies, examples, definitions, diagrams, application, context, evaluation. Okay, if our book contains all those factors, it's a good book. Most books go up to application. Specialized books, you have to go for history or philosophy or evaluation. But generally, most books cover those aspects. And the top four are the most important from clarity to definitions. So, if a book contains at least those, it's a good book. So, now let's start. What if the book you like is not here? Well, there are only two possibilities: it's useless, or I have not read it or not reviewed it. But the book I'm gonna mention are more than enough. You can just use them as you like. So let's start with general psychology. What are the topics in general psychology? Here is a list. Yeah. So what should be the base book? It is Passer and Smith. I think it's the best book out there for introduction. If you're a beginner, you should read this book completely. It gives you a basic introduction with research studies in a logical order, and it also mentions a good amount of examples, definitions, diagrams, application, stuff like that. So I think it's good. Now, the other reference books I use for general psychology are Feist and Rosenberg and Wheaton. The other reference books are Bernstein and Feldman, followed by Carpenter and Cicerelli and Atkinson and Hilgard. So you can use all these reference books in addition to the base book that is Passer and Smith to read it. How you read all those books in a minimum amount of time, you have to kind of what do you call it? Learn the skill of synoptical reading. So yep, okay. For biopsychology, I use two books, Kolb as a base book, and to cover the topics that were not there in the Kolb, I used Breedlove. Okay, for sensory perception, there are two books, Grants and George. They go into the detail of how sensory perception works, what are the processes behind it. Your base book cover those as well, but these books go in detail. So for human development, there is a series of books by Sandrock, Lifespan Development, Child Development, and Adolescence. Okay, for social psychology, there are three books. One is Hogg, the other one is Carson, and the third one is Barron. So you have to use them, what you call it, meticulously based on your syllabus and topics you have to cover. If you find a good example, if you find a good definition, new research study, a diagram, you can pick up from your reference books. So yeah, organizational psychology. The book I used was Conte, Work in 21st Century. The reference book for organizational psychology were Robbins and Bushanan. Okay. For research method, I think the best book is Passer. Research methods is go. It's a very comprehensive. Repeating examples, it tells you how to do research. Uh, it kind of has a hypothetical examples. It has real world examples as well. How research studies were conducted, and it's kind of pretty simplified version. If you want starting here, you should go for this book. This book doesn't explain factor analysis, so you have to keep that in mind. But for most of the research methods, this book is good. Okay. The other book for research methods, at least the theoretical part, is Guy's and Bloomquist. In addition to the Passer, I think this book is good for conceptual understanding, so you can use this book. Okay. So, statistics. I think Lomax is a good conceptual introduction for statistical concepts. It kind of gives you formula. It also gives you what you call it application of those formulas or statistical tests in R and SPSS. So that's cool. The reference book for statistics, you can use Kothari. I mean, I used it in my master's. I think it's a pretty good, what you call it, notes like introduction to statistics. So it's cool. Okay. For testing, the book is Gregory. I think Anastasia or Gregory are similar, very similar in their content. I used Gregory because it goes from history, then it introduces the test where they are used, uh, and gives you a little bit of theory on testing. So that's good. The reference book is AK Singh. I think it goes into the what do you call it? The test item analysis. So I use this book for the formulas from item analysis or discriminative analysis, etc. For testing, I use this book only for testing, not for research methods or statistics. Okay, cool. Let's go. Clinical psychology. So clinical psychology has multiple topics. It involves classification, diagnosis, psychotherapy, etiology, that is causation, and medical treatment. So let's start. Where do we begin? So I think the best book for psychotherapy in the world is John C. Smith. It gives you a basic introduction of all the psychotherapies out there. It also tells you a method of how to integrate all these psychotherapies, yeah, when you are actually practicing. So I think this is a good book. The reference book could be Whiteburn and Hansel. They have their own internal logic that you can use. So yeah, and Kring and Barlow's Psychopathology. That is a good book as well. There are Davies Psychopathology and Puri for psychiatry. Okay. For clinical psychology, last but not the least, we have Comer and actual manuals that are used for diagnosis, that is DSM and ICD. So you can read these as well. For positive psychology, I think Heart is more than enough. I think it covers all the basic theories. If some topic is left out, like psychological capital, you can cover them from elsewhere, like Chat GPT. But I think it's more than enough for positive psychology. For health psychology, we have Ogden. I think it covers all the major topic of health psychology, how it is applied to different diseases. So yeah, if you want to go in depth, you can have Serafino and Abraham. Western philosophy, I think this is the best book because it is based on the course by the same person or philosopher Leonard Peikoff. I think his courses are available for free. These are the links to the courses. If you want a written version of majority of his what do you call it course lectures, then this book is for you. Now coming to the Indian philosophy. Indian philosophy we have Gupta. I think it's the most logical introduction to Indian philosophy. It's a very simplified form. You can use it to learn Indian philosophy. Now we are going to come to the history of psychology. I haven't found the good book yet, so I use A.K. Singh as a reference book, which is kind of it contains all the major what do you call it timeline of all the major philosophers or psychologists in the field of psychology. So I think this is a good book for history of psychology. So yeah, that's all. If you like the video, do share it, do use it, and now these are the all the books you need to actually learn any topic in psychology so far, at least if you are on a beginner level. So yeah, good luck for that.